Mishnah Zayin. Mishnah Zayin continues with a theme that we just left off with, and that is describing how many kohanim would be involved in offering up a par, i.e. an ox. An ox is an animal, a calf, which is moved now into its second year. It would need more kohanim simply because a par is going to be much bigger, and you'd need more kohanim. So for a sheep, for a keves discussed in Mishnah Hay, you would need a minimum of 9 kohanim. For an ayil, a ram discussed in the previous Mishnah, you would need 11 kohanim. And now the Mishnah says, par korav be'esrim va'arba. You would need 24 kohanim. And the Mishnah is now going to explain how you get to 24. Harosh v'haregel, the one kohen previously was used to carry the head and the regel. Now the Mishnah says we need 3. Harosh be'echod, the head of the animal, the head of the par would be carried by one kohen. V'haregel b'shnayim, and you would need 2 kohanim to carry the hind leg. That always accompanied the rosh. It's the back leg, and it's actually the left back leg. V'harosh be'echod v'haregel b'shnayim. Okay, so far 3. Ha'ukutz v'haregel. Ha'ukutz, the tail, v'haregel, and the other hind leg. Then previously you needed 1. Now you need 4. Ha'ukutz b'shnayim, 2 kohanim to carry the tail, the ukutz. V'haregel b'shnayim, and 2 kohanim to carry the other hind leg. Hechoze v'hageira. The chose v'hageira, the chest of the animal, v'hageira, and the neck. Again, previously we needed 1. Now we need 4. Hechoze b'echod, 1 to carry the breast. V'hageira b'shleisha, and 3 to carry the neck. Shtei yodayim b'shnayim, 2 kohanim needed to carry the other 2 legs. Interestingly, that you would need 2 kohanim to carry the front leg, the back leg, the hind leg, the regel, both the left one and the back one. You would need, the Mishnah says, harosh be'echod v'haregel b'shnayim, and then you would say ha'ukuz b'shnayim v'haregel b'shnayim. So each of the hind legs would require 2 kohanim to carry it. Yet the Mishnah says, shtei yodayim b'shnayim. You would have the 2 forelegs, the 2 front legs, with 2. So presumably this is because you need 2 kohanim to carry each of the back legs because they're bigger and stronger and heavier. And that makes sense because that explains why, if you remember, we had a machlokus, what order the animal parts are carried. The Tanakama held that they carried in according to chashivas, according to the importance. The rosh comes first, even though it hasn't got as much meat on. The rosh is the rosh, and that's the gzeres hakosov. That's why it's got to come first. But then the hind leg comes next because that carries the most meat. Then you have the front legs because they're skinnier, they have less meat, and then it's carried. It's sort of brought to the ramp of the mizbeach and subsequently onto the fire in accordance with its chashivas. What is its chashivas? The amount of meat that it has on it. Others argued and said according to the way it walked, etc. But according to the Tanakama, according to the amount of meat that it had on it, the regel, the hind leg, would have much more meat on it. And therefore, perhaps that explains why you need 2 kohanim to carry each of the hind legs, whereas you need 2 kohanim to carry the 2 front legs. A total of 2 kohanim, and not 4 to carry the back legs, presumably because they're that much lighter. Maybe. Okay, so just let's get back to our count. How are we going to get to 24? So again, harosh v'haregel, we've got 3. 1 for the rosh, 2 for the regel. Then you've got 4 more. 2 for the ukutz, for the tail, and 2 for the other hind legs. That takes us up to 7. Hechoze v'hageira, hechoze be'echod. That takes us to 8. The chest of the animal is we need 1. V'hageira, which is the neck, shleisha, you need 3 kohanim. That takes us to 11. Shtei yodayim b'shnayim, 2 kohanim to take the front legs of the animal. That takes us to 13. And shtei defanos b'shnayim, and the 2 sides of the animal, you would need 2 kohanim. That takes us to 15. So how do we get to 24? Hakrovayim, v'hasoles, v'hayayin, b'shleisha shleisha. The krovayim, the intestines, the soles, the flour, v'hayayin, and the wine, again for the par, they were all much heavier, needed more kohanim. But shleisha shleisha, you need 3 kohanim for each of those, 3 for the intestines, the krovayim, 3 for the soles and 3 for the yain, that gives us 9. 9 plus 15 is 24. So therefore you would need 24 kohanim to officiate for the offering up of a par. The Tiferes Yisrael notes that here, when we say that you need 3 for the kravayim and 3 for the soles, for example, and indeed in the previous Mishnah when we say that you need 2 for the soles and the yain, we don't just split it into into individual bowls, and each kohen takes up a half or a third of the kravayim, of the intestines, but rather we put it into one bowl, and the kohanim jointly carry this one bowl. Okay, continues the Mishnah. When is this true? When does the above apply? Bekarbonos sibur, when it's a public offering. Avol bekarban yochid, but if an individual wants to bring his own korban, imrotz lahakriv makriv, for a personal sacrifice, for a korban yochid, imrotz lahakriv makriv. If he wanted to do the whole lot, he's allowed to. So says the Bartanura, when is it true that you need all these kohanim as listed for each animal, and you need a pious and you need a lottery to determine who does what? That's only for a korban sibur. Imrotz lahakriv, says the Bartanura, kohen yechidi es hakol below pious. If the kohen yechid, an individual kohen, wants to do all of the bringing of the various parts of the animal, and he doesn't want to do a pious, he's entitled to do so. Continues and concludes the Mishnah. Hefsheiton v'nituchon, the skinning, the flaying of the animal, taking the skin off the animal, v'nituchon, and dissecting and chopping up the animal, shall elu ve'elu shovin, i.e., says the Bartanura, shel yochid v'shel tzibur, both private korbanos and public korbanos, shovin lihiyos kasherin bizar ve'ein tu'unin kohen. They are kosher for a non-kohen, a zar, to do that, to flay the animal, to dissect the animal. Ve'ein tu'unin kohen, you do not need a kohen for this job. That is the end of Mishnah Zayin and Perek Beis.